This is ABC7 News at 7, your Suncoast News. We're here for you.
We're helpless. We need somebody that can say to the contractors, enough is enough.
2 construction accidents in less than a month, both leaving construction workers dangling hundreds of feet above downtown Sarasota. Now, some are asking if more precautions should be taken. Good evening, everyone. I'm Alan Cohn, and welcome to ABC 7 at 7. We'll have more on recent construction close calls, but first, our top 7 stories at 7. What a day of wild, wet, and windy weather. A state of emergency is still in effect in 31 counties, including Manatee and Sarasota, as Tropical Storm Emily hits Florida. Governor Rick Scott made the announcement this morning to make sure every community has the resources it needs. The Florida National Guard is on standby and ready to assist with storm-related issues. Scott is encouraging state, local, and regional agencies to work together.
This state of emergency will give us the flexibility to work with local governments and ensure every community has what they need to prepare and respond to the storm. Today is a reminder that in Florida, severe weather can come at any time.
No evacuations have taken place at this time. For the latest on Emily, we go to Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan. Bob.
This one popped up quick overnight and then became a tropical storm this morning. Very early, tropical storm warnings were up, and boy, a lot of damage with trees down and also a couple of structures damaged in northwest Bradenton as a tornado warning was issued there just before 11 o'clock. You can see it is now just a tropical depression. It's lost its energy from the Gulf of Mexico. It's now over land. And what more than likely is going to happen, it's going to continue to move off into the Atlantic, where it could re-strengthen back to tropical storm status. Top winds are at 35 now. It's moving to the east-northeast at 12, and the pressure is starting to come up. All the warnings have been discontinued for our coast, and just some looks like marine advisories and also the possibility of those being reissued along the East Coast as it makes its way off toward the northeast in time, staying away from the U.S. once it clears Florida. As far as the system goes, though, we still are seeing some wraparound, if you will, some showers approaching Anna Maria Island now. And also Sebring had some pretty big storms just about a half hour ago. We'll continue to see periodic showers. Even this one has a few lightning strikes in it, so be careful out there on the area beaches. I know a lot of surfers are out there in the water due to the high waves that have been generated from Emily. And it looks as though the rainfall is just going to skirt right along Anna Maria and possibly could eventually work its way inland later on down into Sarasota. But for the time being, the heaviest storms and weather well to the east, and those are not severe. There's some dry air just to the north of us now. There's a frontal boundary that has made its way all the way down into the Gulf of Mexico. You can see that dry air behind it, the warm, moist air out ahead of it, and that is going to retreat south for a little while, that dry air will, and then it'll come back northward, and we'll start to see a better chance for rain and storms, looks like, on Wednesday. Right now, we have the clouds, 85 degrees on the heat index. That's not a big factor. Winds out of the north-northeast at 6, so the winds have calmed down, and the pressure, thankfully, is rising at 29.90 inches. Elsewhere in the tropics, all is quiet right now, but get ready. We're into the peak. We're going to be the next 2 months, the biggest months for the hurricane season. Back to you, Alan.
Thanks, Bob. Some areas of the Suncoast are feeling the effects of Emily more than others. Northwest Bradenton and parts of Palmetto were under a tornado warning. In the middle of today's storm, buildings were damaged by high wind gusts, and hundreds of homes were without power as trees and branches hit power lines and transformers. Some residents say the storm was one of the worst they have seen in years.
It was very intense, and I've lived here for 35 years.
I've never seen anything like it in all the years that I've been in business here.
The last time I saw something like this was the no-name storm, and but there's more trees down now. It's pretty bad.
Also in Bradenton, strong winds and rain caused a roof to collapse. The buildings were in the process of being re-roofed. When the incident happened, the Red Cross responded and was on the scene helping those in need.
Well, we've got 3 units that had some of their ceiling or part of their ceiling come down in the unit. We also have the other units are on the second floors. All were affected, but no major damage. Most of the units can probably be repaired in the next couple of days.
Fortunately, no one was hurt in the incident, and all of them were moved to safety. Meanwhile, on Anna Maria Island, the storm brought nearly 4 inches of rain, flooding streets. The gusts, along with the rain, wind gusts reached nearly 50 miles an hour. The Manatee County Sheriff's taking to Twitter, warning residents to avoid the island if at all possible. As for those already there, there was the scene. Many streets flooded, but still passable.
The wind was crazy, so being from out of town, I had to go see what it was like on the beach, and I went out to the beach at about 8 o'clock this morning, and the surf was absolutely huge. Rain, sand being whipped up, but it's pretty awesome to see.
Several businesses and homes lost power throughout the day, but most of the outages have now been restored. No severe flooding in Venice, though, but emergency officials did say today's storm was a good test run for their emergency response plans. The South Jetty Park walkway was closed this morning due to waves crashing over the jetty wall. The downtown fountains were closed as well. At Sharkey's on the pier, the storm caught them by surprise. As a beachfront business, they had to secure furniture quickly as the winds began to pick up.
We're always trying to be prepared for this time of year for hurricane season, so we start the season like that, but there's always something we miss, and this is a good reminder to always be ready.
The South Jetty walkway is now back open. The community came together to help some of our four-legged friends in need. Nate's Honor Animal Rescue off of Lorraine Road in East Manatee County flooded this morning, leaving dozens of animals without shelter. Staff members reached out to the community through social media asking for foster parents or adopters. The group was pleased to see many step up.
We try our best to raise our kids to help the community as much as possible, and community came first for us. Being able to help animals, definitely a close second. So it's important that you're active in your community, you're helping your local community, and you're doing everything you can to help save lives.
This afternoon, Nate's announced all of the animals are being cared for. Turning now to new details in the deadly shooting in Sarasota. Police say a man accidentally shot his sister and is now facing charges of manslaughter. Police were called to a house on Arlington Street yesterday afternoon. They say 20-year-old Leticia Cortez was sitting with family members at the kitchen table when her brother, 19-year-old Danielle Cortez Reyes, pulled out a semi-automatic handgun. He told investigators he pulled the magazine out of the firearm, but instead inserted the magazine again, and the gun discharged. A single round struck his sister in the head. She was taken to Sarasota Memorial Hospital, where she later died. At this time, investigators say they believe the shooting was accidental. Still to come on ABC7 at 7, 2 construction accidents in downtown Sarasota in less than a month. A coincidence or a dangerous trend? When we return.
Are you a food lover, restaurant goer, or home cook? Then check out My Suncoast Dining on mysuncoast.com, your guide to the foodie lifestyle. ABC7's own Chef Judy serves up her favorite recipes, cooking tips and trends, dining blogs, and helpful step-by-step videos. And you'll love the restaurant guide with direct links to your favorite Suncoast eateries. Whether you're cooking in or dining out, whet your appetite with tasty tips from Chef Judy at mysuncoast.com/dining.
This is an important medical announcement. Bard IVC filters have been linked to punctured veins and problems with migration. Anyone who's received a Bard IVC filter must receive medical monitoring and may be entitled to substantial compensation. If you have the Bard Recovery G2 or G2 Express filter, you are in a class of patients who should be compensated for some expenses. Call now for a free assessment of your case and potential money damages. This call is confidential. There's no cost and you may be eligible. Juries have awarded millions of dollars to people who should have been warned about the risks of the Bard IVC filters. Call the IVC Filter Hotline if you or a loved one has received an IVC filter and experienced a vein puncture or required medical monitoring. You must call now.
Call 800-329-3089. 800-329-3089.
This is an important announcement. If you're between 50 and 85 and worried about your loved ones, you can still get affordable life insurance for peace of mind.
My life insurance coverage is guaranteed, and I was not required to get a medical exam.
I had high blood pressure and diabetes, and I got my coverage with one telephone call. No exam necessary.
I'm a smoker, and I wanted to take care of my family. I called to get my life insurance and my affairs in order.
I wanted to do the right thing.
Call Final Expense No Exam Insurance. Your rates are guaranteed and will never increase.
I called and learned that this insurance cannot be canceled even if you get sick or gain weight.
And there are no restrictions on how my beneficiaries use the money when I'm gone.
Approval was easy and the price was right. I wanted to do this for my children.
Call 800-738-9812. 800-738-9812.
ABC7 News at 7, weeknights.
This summer, we have seen firsthand just how dangerous building those high-rises can be in downtown Sarasota. Accidents can happen any place, anytime. But as Kate Flexner tells us, right now it seems like they're happening a lot. Kate?
Well, thanks, Alan. Hard hats and cranes are a common sight in downtown Sarasota. But could the high volume of construction also be leading to a high volume of accidents?
It caught the city's attention as two construction workers dangled 150 feet above downtown Sarasota after a scaffolding line snapped near the 15th floor of the New View condominiums. In the end, firefighters performed what's called a high-angled rescue, bringing the workers to safety.
The victim was harnessed in quickly so that he was safe. And once he was harnessed and safe, we were able to take our time, make sure we did everything as safely as possible.
At the time, the fire chief told ABC7 those types of rescues were rare. The chief had only seen about 6 of them in the last 3 decades. But less than 1 month later, an almost identical scene at the nearby 624 Palm condominiums, leaving another worker clinging to life after a scaffolding motor malfunction. And again, the fire department came to the rescue.
We do have people on site that are going to take a look at those motors to see if there's things that could be done to prevent this in the future.
Next door at the Essex House, resident Dr. Lottie Verano says it's not just the workers who are potentially in danger.
They feel like ducks in a shooting gallery. That's the best way I have of describing it.
Verano has documented on multiple occasions debris that he says fell hundreds of feet onto the Essex House driveway.
You had a 30-pound post and 12 2x4s. Any one of those could have maimed or killed anybody. No question about it.
It's an issue he's taken to the city commission, asking for tighter regulations. We reached out to the developer for the project, but have not heard back.
And we're helpless. We need somebody that can say to the contractors, enough is enough.
Attorney Ted Eastmore of Matthews in Eastmore handles cases related to construction safety and says there are a lot of regulations in place. He attributes the higher volume of accidents to the higher volume of construction in the downtown area.
In my 35 years of being here, I've never seen that much activity in building in downtown. So I think that some of the accidents are just a product of the fact there's so much construction going on.
He says scaffolding accidents like those seen recently are surprisingly common.
If you looked on the internet and searched for scaffolding accidents, you would see they're more prevalent than you think. And people are getting injured, people are getting killed as a result of falling off these high-rise buildings.
It's a job, Eastmore says, that's inherently dangerous, although some accidents can be prevented.
The bottom line is, if you're building a high-rise building, it's dangerous. And what we can hope for is that people will follow the rules and take all the precautions to prevent as many accidents as are possible.
The fire chief tells us the department regularly practices those types of rescues.
Okay, thank you. Coming up, a construction safety engineer and a local property manager talk about safety in the Sarasota skies when we take it to the trapezoid.
Attention, Americans eligible for Medicare. Are you getting all the benefits you're entitled to? Did you know there may be money available to lower your medical prescription costs? Call Health Markets and we'll tell you if you qualify.
Hi, I'm Dr. Martin Jeetsi. It's a new Medicare year. That means more changes and more confusion. The key question is, what can you do now to ensure you get the care you need in the coming year?
Call Health Markets today. You may qualify to save money on prescriptions. We'll help you find plans that may cost less, cover more, and could even lower your prescription costs to increase your savings. We help you find all the benefits you're entitled to, and we do it at no cost.
Make sure you have what you need to get the care that's right for you.
Find out if you qualify to receive extra help with your prescriptions. Call the number on the screen now. Representatives are standing by.
There was this big bruise on my friend's face. I didn't want to see it. I didn't want to think her own nephew could have hit her.
I didn't want to see it. My mother's bank account was emptied, and a caregiver had taken control of it.
I didn't want to see it. My father's refrigerator. There was hardly anything in it. That's unusual for him.
It's tough to see that a senior citizen is being abused, physically, emotionally, sexually, or financially. Elder abuse is a crime.
So see the signs. Stop the crimes.
Northland Outdoors is about so much more than the biggest fish or the hottest hunting spots. All across the Northland, there are amazing people with incredible stories to tell. We're going to find those stories and share them with everyone. Join us each and every week as we explore the Northland and experience some of the most exciting outdoor adventures in the country right here in our own backyard. This is Northland Outdoors.
This is your brain. This is drugs. This is your brain on drugs. Any questions?
Yeah, I have questions.
Prescription drugs aren't as bad as street drugs, right?
Weed's legal, isn't it?
Drinking is worse than smoking weed.
Isn't it? Why
is heroin so addictive?
Molly just makes you feel happy. I have questions.
Mom?
Dad, did you ever try drugs?
They're going to ask. Be ready. Go to drugfree.org. A message from Partnership for Drug-Free Kids.
Welcome back. Just maybe it comes with the territory during a building boom, but it seems to be happening more than usual. In June, 2 construction workers were rescued after a platform broke 14 stories high at the site of the new View condominiums. Earlier this month, another construction worker was plucked off of a broken scaffolding on the other side of another high-rise building over Palm Avenue. Coincidence or an indication of safety issues as Sarasota skyline grows before our very eyes? And joining us is David Simmons, who has 25 years of experience in construction safety issues, and Cindy Long, a property manager in the building right next door to the scene of one of those construction accidents. And Cindy, let me ask you, that fateful day, what did you experience?
It was extremely scary. It was scary for the residents that were outside watching. It was scary for everyone, and mostly it's scary for the construction worker. I mean, your fear for anybody is not to get hurt. And to see that and see him hanging there was extremely, it was very heart-wrenching to watch that.
I would imagine you brought along with you today a hard hat and a mask,
yes,
which lends me to think that you had concerns before this incident took place.
Of course. Of course, we've had a lot of falling debris in the past year, and it has become to the issue that, like you saw, the danger on the door. I try to protect my residents and my owners as much as possible, and always tell them to look up as soon as they walk out. Things are falling.
David, is that unusual?
Yes, it is, in a sense that the contractor has a responsibility to contain that, okay? And in terms of falling off the building, there's ways of doing that with either debris nets or the rest of it. They do need to control that somehow. Depending on the height of the building and the proximity to the structures next door, it can be a serious problem. It truly is.
And as I asked at the outset, is this just coincidence that we had 2 accidents like this within basically a month's period of time, or is that also unusual?
I think it's very unusual. Okay, the subcontractors or the contractor that uses that swing stage, they have to train their people per the OSHA standards. They have to inspect that equipment before they use it. Why it happened, I couldn't tell you. I have not been involved on that. But there is a path to follow, a certain planning process in order to inspect the gear, and if mechanically it fails, I'm not sure if that's within the realm of those guys.
Whose responsibility is it to hold contractors responsible in terms of making sure that their work sites are safe?
It's an OSHA requirement. They have to provide a safe work site, a site that's free of recognized and potential hazards.
Cindy, I want to get into what many residents are trying to do in terms of approaching the city, because the city is the one who
absolutely
does the permits. The permits. I want to get into that in the next segment.
Absolutely.
But it's safe to say that you and residents have been concerned and trying to get
we've been concerned since the original of the house. The 2 houses that were purchased went down, one which had asbestos. So we've been concerned since the very beginning and have asked for the help. To help the citizens from the city. Obviously, we're not getting it.
Well, and
we'll go into that.
Right. Just give me a sense, because you are right next to the location at 624.
Exactly.
Is it something that weighs on you and the residents there on a daily basis?
It's a 24/7 job now. And I would say 80% of my job now is the safety of the residents, which is difficult to do the other job that you were hired for.
Now, David, I would imagine this. I just got back from New York City. There you look, everywhere. Something is going up around there. So, a booming skyline is a sign of an improving economy. But in many places, do many communities do a good job in terms of making sure that contractors are taking the precautions that they should be taking?
In terms of property damage to somebody else, I'm not sure of that. I can tell you that OSHA has specific requirements to keep that project safe that the contractors, all employers have to follow, for that matter.
All
okay.
Right. We are just getting started with our conversation, and we'll have more right after we check the weather, so stay with us.
Credit card debt can ruin your life. If you owe $10,000 and minimum payments are siphoning away your paycheck each month, you can get debt-free in less time than you think.
I've paid $800 a month for the past 3 years and haven't changed the balance on my credit card.
Get debt-free now has a program to reduce your debt, stop the harassing phone calls, avoid financial ruin, and settle for less than you owe.
I feel like a huge weight has been lifted off my shoulders.
You're pre-approved for our special hardship program if you owe $10,000 or more. Upon payment of your new lower balance, your debt will finally shrink until you are debt-free.
My family no longer has 30 years of payments ahead of us at 20% interest.
There's no fees until you see results. So call now, make one monthly program payment, and free up your cash. Resolve your debt.
Call 800-685-6422, 800-685-6422.
The following message is brought to you by Mesobook.com.
People who have been diagnosed with mesothelioma have many questions. How did I get this disease? What are my treatment options? How will this affect my loved ones? You need answers, which is why we offer a free book written by medical professionals who have treated mesothelioma.
Call toll-free at 1-800-777-1366 or go to mesobook.com.
When my youngest, Addie, was 2.5, she was diagnosed with leukemia. When we first heard that diagnosis, you feel extremely alone. Walking in that Light the Night light with 6,000 people carrying lights, white for survivors, red for supporters, gold in memory of those who have passed. It's the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society's hope that every year there are fewer gold lanterns. Your lantern will make a difference.
Start a team, join a team.
Help us light the night.
My name is Stephen Jaffe. The law firm's name is Farmer Jaffe. One of the beautiful things about Julius is he's always smiling, and it becomes infectious. The fact that Julius has a disability has absolutely nothing to do with the quality of work that he's done. Just a great person you want on your staff.
Hi, this is Dan Marino. When your business recruits people with disabilities, everybody wins. To find out how, go to disabilitieswork.employflorida.com.
Our discussion about construction accidents and safety continues in a moment, but right now let's get the latest on the weather from Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan. Bob.
Well, it went from a tropical storm to a tropical depression in less than 12 hours. It popped up quick. It was on the tail end of a cold front. We talked about it last week. There's always that potential when fronts come down. Usually it's in October because you don't get cold fronts during this time of year, but it did happen, and we're going to keep an eye on it too. That front's still out there in the Gulf of Mexico. Anything can happen, and we saw that this morning. We're starting to see a glimmer of hope there, a little bit of sunshine, some clearing off to the west of the storm. The weather headlines read like this: Emily weakens as it pushes to the east. What's going to happen? It's going to redevelop once it gets into the Atlantic right now, it looks like. And rain chances lower for Tuesday because of some dry air behind that front, and then better chances for rain return on Wednesday. Well, here's a look at the wind gust from a weather station located in northwest Bradenton. Give you an idea how strong the winds were. Well, there it is, right there at 11 o'clock. Winds gusted as high as 73 miles an hour. And that certainly could have been an EF0 tornado that moved on through. I noticed I checked the damage out throughout this morning. A lot of the tree limbs were cut off at the top, and there were some big trees, numerous big trees that were downed as a result of that strong wind. Now, in Venice, James Ferguson getting this picture of that squall line, getting ready to move in there. A lot of people got a lot of rainfall today, too. But all that heavy rain is now east of our immediate area, although still occurring over northern sections of Highlands County. We have to keep an eye on that cell. Right there in the northeastern portions of Hardy County, too. Pretty heavy rainfall. This was a little bit more significant about a half hour ago. It's now some light rainfall. It continues to kind of rotate around this area of low pressure, which appears to be right here. But what's happening more than likely is that the low is several different places. We have several spin-ups. It will regenerate once it gets out there into the Atlantic. At least that's the thinking from the National Hurricane Center. And it could be back to tropical storm status as early as tomorrow midday. But for the time being, we have had a lot of rainfall around. The flood watch is no longer with us, so we don't have to worry about that. But we had up over 4 inches of rainfall in places over the last 24 hours, specifically right there near Bayshore Gardens, 4.5 inches estimate. And even at the Sarasota Bradenton Airport, over 3.5 inches. And this pretty much verifies with what we saw. You can see the rainfall estimates there from the Doppler radar site. I mentioned that dry air. Well, there it is. It's slipping in. And that's a good sign for Tuesday. We'll have a chance to dry out a little bit. There'll still be a few scattered storms around, but not nearly as much as we saw today. Well, those storms will be back as early as Wednesday, though. 85 right now, the heat index, 80-degree temperature. The pressure is slowly rising now at 29.90 inches, and that's a good thing. 82 the high. Because of the clouds and rain, we never warmed up to that 90-degree average for today. And look at that rainfall total. Now, this is actual total at the airport, nearly 4 inches. That puts us an inch above average. And almost average for the year again. We were 4 inches below average just last Friday. Well, the wind flow won't be nearly as strong either. It'll be out of the north and northwest throughout the day on Tuesday. And then not as strong on Wednesday, even a sea breeze developing. And that will allow for showers and storms to really generate on in through Wednesday. 79 is cool there in Miami. 75 in Orlando. 80 in Jacksonville. The RPM forecast model calling for a little bit of rain tonight. Not much. And then pretty quiet throughout the day on Tuesday. Elsewhere in the tropics, all is quiet. But I mentioned we have to keep an eye on that Gulf of Mexico. Still, there could be another system popping up. Southeast winds turn to the southwest at 10 to 15 knots. Seas will be 2 to 3 feet. The water temperature cooled as a result of the wave action today. It's down to 86. Last week, it was 91. 91 will be the high on Wednesday. Showers and storms coming back. And then the weekend looks to be wet again, too. We'll have much more on our weather a little later in this newscast. Alan will be back with his guests right after this. Stick around.
You currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Our accredited staff will handle all of the Medicare paperwork for free, and best of all, your brace is shipped directly to your home for free. Don't let chronic lower back pain slow you down. Get moving and stay active with a medical-grade back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost. We also accept Blue Cross Blue Shield, United Healthcare, Aetna, Humana, and other insurance. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace covered by Medicare? Find out for free.
Call Back Brace America at 1-800-715-0835. That's 1-800-715-0835, 1-800-715-0835.
ABC7, My Suncoast News. We're here for you. Watch My Suncoast News wherever you are. On our live stream, on our newly redesigned MySuncoast.com, and a brand new ABC7 My Suncoast app, powered by the Eye Associates, providing sight for life, featuring traffic maps and live radar, and dining with recipes and all the hottest Suncoast restaurants. Visit MySuncoast.com and click on the mobile tab to download the ABC7 My Suncoast app for iOS and Android.
That is a pretty good breakfast. You're not even eating.
Not hungry.
No? Why not? What's up?
Kath and I knew that Jenny'd been partying a bit. Found out she tried heroin.
Most people don't know what to say about drugs, but we do. Visit us at drugfree.org.
Welcome back. The skyline is growing in Sarasota, and lately, so have been the number of construction accidents. Earlier this month, a construction worker had to be plucked off of a broken platform in a daring rescue 10 stories above Sarasota. In June, 2 construction workers were rescued after another platform broke 14 stories above the New View condominiums. And joining us is construction safety expert David Simmons and property manager Cindy Long. And David, let me start with you. When you look at these 2 incidents involving scaffolding and platforms high above, the buildings, what kind of questions does it raise with you?
Well, certainly it's unusual to have 2 in such a short period of time. The OSHA standards require the user of that scaffold, that subcontractor, to inspect the scaffold daily before use. Their people have to be trained, and obviously they were trained in a sense because they were wearing their gear, and that's what saved their lives. Otherwise, it would have been a lot worse. But they have to look at that scaffold pretty hard. There's a certain amount of training that goes into that, and it is. I have not seen too many.
I mean, I realize accidents can happen, but if inspectors were indeed inspecting the scaffolding, and if there were problems that were not caught, what does that say?
Well, it goes back to what they're actually inspecting, and the competent person for that subcontractor has to get into it in terms of not only lifelines but the setup itself. Now, mechanically inside the motor, whatever failed, I couldn't tell you that, and I'm sure they couldn't either. It seems to me it's more of a visual inspection than anything else, versus actually opening up that motor to see if there's a problem with it.
And just to be clear, when you say inspection, who is doing these inspections itself? The construction company, or are they hiring private companies to do that?
It could be either one. Usually it is the subcontractor that's using the scaffold itself. They have to have a competent person, a person that's trained in recognizing the hazards associated with whatever task they're doing, and being able to anticipate any potential problems. And so that person has to inspect it and document it daily. And then the workers that actually go on the scaffold have to be trained on how to use that scaffold, how to use the fall protection gear.
Now, Cindy, we started the conversation in the last half hour talking about the fact that, in fact, I called the city of Sarasota today, and they said primarily oversight on these projects is an OSHA responsibility, a federal responsibility, that the city itself does not have a lot of oversight responsibilities and regulations that...
Of course not.
But you're not buying that?
No, I'm not buying it at all. Who gives the permits? Who starts this process? Starts with the city. And it should end with the city's inspections. Where is the city at all times with this going on?
So what have you done?
We have gone to the city so many numerous times asking for our protections, and I'm sure he's going to agree with me on this. We asked for netting from day one. We were promised netting from the developer, that we definitely would be netted and protected. We went to the city and they just said, of course you will be. You know, no doubt, we're here to protect the citizens. We didn't get it.
Is netting a requirement?
It is, yes it is, in the sense that you have to control falling objects on the project to protect the workers on the site. In this case, the proximity appears to be, obviously, is pretty close to your structure. But you have to,
lot line to lot line, zero lot line.
Okay, but you know, they do have to protect the workers on the ground from falling objects, and that's where netting comes in.
Cindy, have you approached members of the city commission to come out and look at what the situation is
We
there?
have from day one, especially when the ground collapsed. When they began their digging, excavating, the ground collapsed. Finally, Marlon Brando came out. Marlon Brown. Not Brando. Brown came out, and he was of help to us. We were getting help from Susan Chapman. We were not receiving much help from the other commissioners at that time. We now have a commissioner on staff, which is Jen, which has been very helpful.
Jen Ahern.
Exactly, exactly. And she's been of great help. Susan Chapman was the first one to help us. Everybody stepped away and said, oh, that's a shame. Sorry. That's not right. But no one shows. Back up. You keep calling, and no one shows to help us. So we continue to go down there. Continue.
David, is this in itself unusual in the construction business?
Is what unusual?
Is that these projects sometimes result in neighboring communities having these kind of complaints, whether it's concern about scaffolding or items falling off of construction sites, and local folks, whether it's property managers like Cindy or residents, really kind of feeling that they have no place to turn?
Well, most of the developers I've worked with, and this one that I've worked with has been very responsive when I've been on that project. But usually what happens is there are things that are going to fall. You got noise problems. You're going to have a certain amount of that. You're going to have overspray sometimes if they're doing any kind of stucco work, if they're spraying or any kind of paint work, or something to that effect. And generally it's handled, by the contractor itself. On this particular situation, the way you've described the continuing problems, I can't answer that per se, but I can tell you from the OSHA standpoint is that, you got falling objects, you have to protect the people on the ground, the guys on the ground that are working. They have no say per se on the public.
Right, it's lot line to lot line, it's our issue.
Right.
What ability does OSHA have to actually take action? And I mean that by a manpower question. Do they have enough inspectors out there who are coming out, enough resources? We know budgets are tight, especially the federal budget these days.
Right now, with the boom in construction in Florida, OSHA is extremely busy. Now, I can't speak for their situation, but I know they're extremely busy. So far in Florida, there have been over 75 fatalities. Okay, of those, there's been 28 of them at least related to falls, and so OSHA is extremely busy right now. Whether they have the funding or the personnel, that's something you'd have to ask them. But the people that I've run into, they're running pretty hard. They really are trying to keep up with complaints and any kind of fatalities or near misses that happen.
And I would imagine if any workforce is working that hard and is so stretched that things can fall through the cracks.
Oh, sure, absolutely. But again, the employer is required, by the OSHA standards to train their people in the tasks that they're going to perform. Okay, so whether you're painting or you're hanging drywall or you're working off a scaffold, that employer needs to get in there and train their people and make sure they continue with that training.
But we're both in agreement of netting should be required.
If there's a falling object problem, they will do that.
Cindy, given the fact that you are underwhelmed in terms of the city's response to your concerns, have you gone to OSHA? Have you explored what kind of options and
we have
things
called
that you can
OSHA in the beginning when things were falling down severely. OSHA informed us it wasn't an issue that they could help us with. They're more geared towards the employees of the site, not for residents not on the site. I don't know how true that is, but we were shut down immediately. So I'm not quite sure. I just know we didn't have a chance. So again, back to the city we go.
Now, obviously, this is an issue that will eventually go away when the building is completed.
Will it?
Well, I mean, so what
for
kind
us?
of, yes.
Yes. For the other ones coming, if they keep doing lot line to lot line, zero setbacks, no.
And are there enough private firms out there that to be hired by the general contractors to do these kinds of inspections?
The larger contractors usually have a safety person on staff. It's the mid to smaller size will utilize either a safety consultant. They might have somebody part-time come in. There's lots of resources out there. University of South Florida in Tampa, for instance, is an OSHA outreach center, and the contractor of any size can sign up with those folks up there, and they will help them put together a safety program and actually will do site inspections for that particular member.
The obvious question also is, in terms of, OSHA is supposed to protect worker safety. I know a lot of these trades are unionized. Are the unions out there trying to make sure that their workers are adequately protected?
Well, I can't speak to the unions too well because I don't deal with too many unions, but the few folks that I have worked with, they're very safety conscious, along with, nobody wants their guys to get hurt on the job site. It's a matter of getting our people, getting a safety culture developed so that these people, want to work safely. It's a risk versus reward scenario with them. They think that if they do take that chance and work unsafe, that it's going to please the boss or make the project move that much faster or get the concrete poured that day. And so the goal is to get our guys trained and turned around so we change that culture. And you do that through not only training, but just, good planning, that type of thing. And there's a lot of different organizations you can work with.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, time for final thoughts from our guests, so stay with us.
Glasses and contacts. You need them to see, but they put such a strain on your life, you miss precious moments. Due to new advances in vision improvement technology, LASIK is now affordable for almost everyone, with procedures starting as low as $299 per eye and over 1 million procedures performed by our trusted independent surgeons. LASIK surgery is a sensible, safe, and affordable solution to improve your vision. Our simple 3-step process begins with a free evaluation, followed by an extensive preoperative exam to determine if you're a candidate for LASIK eye surgery. Depending on the results of your evaluation and eye exam, you and your surgeon will choose the LASIK option that works best for you. So call now to talk to a LASIK Vision Institute counselor and schedule your free evaluation. That's a $100 value, free. Call the LASIK Vision Institute for your free evaluation and enjoy more of your life.
Call 1-800-813-0109. 1-800-813-0109.
Have you ever wondered what it's like to save a life? Find out by donating platelets at Suncoast Blood Bank.
I'm Haley Wilgus, ABC7. Platelets aid in the clotting process and are vital in the treatment of cancer and surgical patients, trauma victims, and critically ill newborns. It's tough to keep enough on the shelves because they only last 5 days. To donate, call this number or visit scbb.org and you can help save a life.
ABC7 congratulates Suncoast Blood Bank on 65 years of serving our community.
From a baby's first steps to walking your daughter down the aisle, so many of life's precious moments are spent on our feet, and every step you take contributes to a healthier heart. By walking briskly for just 30 minutes a day, you can lower your risk for heart disease and stroke. So join us and take the first step to a healthier, longer life. The American Heart Association. Life. Life is why.
Enjoy some of the best Suncoast restaurants on me. Just go to mysuncoast.com/dining, sign up for the newsletter if you haven't already, and you can win a $50 gift card to a restaurant in our area. We'll pick a winner each week, so go on our website and sign up now.
What should we make of the accidents this summer high above the booming Sarasota skyline? Do we need some new regulations to maintain safety? Our guests join us right now for final thoughts. And Cindy, I'll start with you because it seems like if you're not getting much help out of the city itself,
correct, where
do you go?
I don't know. I keep trying. I mean, I go on to every organization I possibly can to say, help us. Please help us. This is ridiculous. The city, when going in front of the commissioners, and I'll say it again, I've asked that their only job is to protect the citizens, and they're not doing a very good job at that. And we've been asking for it for years. Netting would have been huge. Would have been very grateful for that. But where are they? And it needs to change. It might not change for us, but there's ones coming around the corner, and I hope it changes for them. They need to change the codes.
You know, the one thing that we have not mentioned so far in this conversation is what role, if any, the state has. What would the answer to that be?
Well, good question. Years ago, the state of Florida had a safety division, so to speak, and that was disbanded for whatever reason. And then that was
by whom?
By the governor at the time.
Who was?
I think it might have been Governor Martinez. I'm not sure. But the point is that function was then moved over to the University of South Florida in Tampa as part of the OSHA outreach program. Okay, so they're funded to help all employers, not just contractors, provide a safe work site for their employees, okay, and to help with training and resources for, whether it be safety training or come out and inspect or possibly even some, testing. But those outlets are there. The insurance companies, workers' comp carriers also provide site inspections that can assist the contractor in that way. But in terms of the state, it's pretty much been removed years ago.
You mentioned the insurance companies. Obviously, they have a tremendous amount to lose if somebody gets hurt. So I would imagine that they would be pushing for as much safety, regulations as they can.
Yeah, they do. I mean, it's a business to them naturally. But the insurance workers' comp carriers that I've worked with, their loss control people are very good, very well trained, and they do their site inspections, but it may not be as often as what somebody like myself.
Okay, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you both
Thanks
for
for
joining
having
us
us.
tonight. Before we go, we also want to share with you what some of our viewers are saying about Friday's show. Homeland Security Secretary John Kelly is now Chief of Staff to the White House. The 4-star general replaced Reince Priebus after Priebus resigned last week. It is just one of many adjustments in staffing since President Trump took office earlier this year. And here's what some of your comments on the constant turnover at the White House. Lori on Facebook asks, has any other president had so many staff upheavals in such a short period of time? Myrner asks, seems to me if one has to change personnel so often, they didn't make good decisions in the first place. And finally, Matthew says White House has higher turnover than McDonald's. Well, if you'd like to join the conversation on tonight's topic, just visit our Facebook page at facebook.com/news@7. And FYI, you can watch past discussions. They're on demand. They're available on Apple TV, Amazon Fire, and Roku. When we return, we'll have a final look at your weather, plus President Trump awarding the Medal of Honor to a Vietnam veteran. More on that coming up in your primetime headlines after the break.
This is an important medical announcement. Bard IVC filters have been linked to punctured veins and problems with migration. Anyone who's received a Bard IVC filter must receive medical monitoring and may be entitled to substantial compensation. If you have the Bard Recovery G2 or G2 Express filter, you are in a class of patients who should be compensated for some expenses. Call now for a free assessment of your case and potential money damages. This call is confidential. There's no cost and you may be eligible. Juries have awarded millions of dollars to people who should have been warned about the risks of the Bard IVC filters. Call the IVC Filter Hotline if you or a loved one has received an IVC filter and experienced a vein puncture or required medical monitoring. You must call now.
Call 800-329-3089. 800-329-3089.
You might feel like there's too many problems in the world, or that, you as a 15-year-old, 16-year-old can't really make a difference.
It's not always about you. It's not just one person. It's a group. It's a team.
Just that simple act is transforming someone else's life.
It's one of the best feelings in the world.
It'll just make you feel so good about yourself.
I'd do anything to convince you just to be a part of this.
Download ABC7's all-new official Suncoast weather app onto all your devices so you can stay informed wherever you go. With our full-featured all-new weather app, you can get weather alerts, interactive radar maps, current conditions, 10-day forecasts, traffic maps, and weather video from ABC7, all at your fingertips. And it's free. ABC7's all-new official Suncoast weather app, sponsored by Mr. Sparky. Just search Suncoast WX in the App Store and download yours today.
Your primetime headlines are coming up in a moment, but right now let's get a final check on our forecast from Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan.
Alan, I wanted to show you this time lapse of the possible tornado that went through and near Anna Maria Island. Basically, the eye was making landfall right around 10:45, or at least the center. There was no eye, but the center of the tropical storm Emily right around 10:45. And watch how those winds just pick up in intensity. As I said, one wind gust up to 73 miles an hour. And it lasted for a good 45 minutes, too. So it was around a long time, toppling trees, downing power lines, and causing some damage to a couple of structures there. That storm system, for the most part, is out of our hair. We're going to see a few showers still around, it looks like, some wraparound. But the air is just so dry here, they're not going to see a tremendous amount of rainfall building in that dry air. The big system now is east, and it's going to continue to work its way into the Atlantic, where, again, it could regain tropical storm status tomorrow. You can see right now some heavy rainfall near Sebring, stretching off toward the west. Just to the southeast of Wauchula right now, but that is moving eastward, and you could get a pretty heavy downpour there into Highlands County as it makes its way off to the east. But still, low pressure around, an old frontal boundary. There's a chance we'll see a few spotty showers, maybe even an isolated thunderstorm right through the evening and overnight. The heaviest rain, again, stretching to the east and down to the south of us, moving into Naples at this time. You see that dry air on the scale. The extremely dry air has kind of wrapped itself around too. This is the dividing line of that frontal system. This should shut down a lot of the rainfall for Tuesday. There'll still be a slight chance for a few showers and a few thunderstorms, but not nearly as much as we'll see on Wednesday as the moisture returns. 74 in the dew point. Wind is out of the north at 6. The pressure 29.90 inches. That's holding steady, but it has been rising as of late. 82 degrees the high. That was well below the average of 90. 97 the record high, and winds will be lessening tomorrow. We're not going to have a strong wind day. It will be a little breezy out in the waters, but not too much. Winds generally out of the northeast. A little west coast sea breeze developing in the afternoon, and it looks as though we will see, as I said, just a few scattered showers around and a possible thunderstorm as that drier air kind of takes shape. Temperatures currently across the state, 87 now in Tallahassee, Jacksonville at 80, 75 in Orlando, 79 in Miami now, 77 in Key West. Well, here's one forecast model showing what we think is going to be happening with Emily, the remnants thereof. And you can see there it goes, kind of elongates itself and then gets over the warm waters of the Atlantic and starts to reorganize, which it could again become a tropical storm Emily. But the news is, if it were to do so, it doesn't appear that it would have any impact on any land. This is just one of those bands, if you will, trying to feed into the system too on Tuesday afternoon. Showers and storms are possible, but as I said, chances of rain not all that great. Wednesday, though, you'll notice more moisture gathering here in the Gulf of Mexico. And there's still a frontal boundary there. It may be not as strong as the one we saw today that kind of kicked off that little spin, that little rotation that we saw with Emily. But we'll watch it very closely. The Gulf of Mexico, water temperature is extremely warm this time of year. Front down there, anything can happen like we saw with this last one. Well, satellite and radar, calm conditions over the southeast and pretty calm out in the Atlantic, although we are watching this tropical wave. It's not really showing signs of development, but in about 5-6 days from now, there's a chance we could see something pop up down there. Well, here's the boating weather tomorrow, much better than it was today. Winds will be still a little bit brisk, southeast to southwest at 10 to 15 knots, a moderate chop out there. Water temperature has cooled a little bit, 86 because of the wave action today. Sunset 8:19, sunrise will be at 6:54. Partly cloudy, some scattered storms still possible through this evening, and for tomorrow, 30% chance for storms. High of 89. The heat is on. High temperatures in the low 90s all the way through the weekend. Rain chances increasing Wednesday, tapering off on Friday, then back with a vengeance over the weekend. Al will be back with primetime headlines right after this.
So you've decided to go to college. That's cool. So pop quiz. Which is a better way to earn your degree? Commute to college and fill your gas tank, get stuck in traffic, drive in bad weather, try to find a parking space, walk a half mile to class, or learn online at Independence University. You don't go to college. College goes to you. That's independence. That's Independence University. And all your supplies, including a brand new laptop and tablet, are included with tuition. Independence U for an independent you.
Call 1-800-671-4817.
If you're not in control, then who is? Live above the influence.
It's been about a month, and I can honestly say I've seen the change in me. I went from being a depressed girl who didn't want help to this happy, caring girl who loves helping other people. I just really hope that people that went through what I went through get the help that they need, because their story is important and they are loved. Thank you so much for everything.
I am powerful beyond my wildest imagination.
I will define my future.
I will keep challenging myself to improve.
Because I am a future leader of this great nation.
I will make a difference in my community.
I will not settle for simply chasing my dreams, I will achieve them.
Because I was given a chance.
An opportunity.
At Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America.
The ultimate leadership experience.
Join us. We'll build a new future together.
Now for your primetime headlines. Well, that was quick. President Trump's new communications director, Anthony Scaramucci, is out after less than 2 weeks on the job. This as new White House Chief of Staff General John Kelly is sworn into office. ABC's Megan Hughes has the details.
General John Kelly immediately shaking up the White House hours after being sworn in. The White House announcing Anthony Scaramucci on his way out as communications director after just 10 days. President Donald Trump tweeting this morning, "No White House chaos," welcoming Kelly to the table at his first cabinet meeting as chief of staff.
We all know him, we respect him, admire what he's done.
In a statement, the White House saying Scaramucci felt it was best to give Kelly a clean slate and the ability to build his own team. Scaramucci unloaded on several senior White House officials in a blunt interview with The New Yorker last week, calling then White House Chief of Staff Reince Priebus a bleeping paranoid schizophrenic, lobbing a crude insult at strategist Steve Bannon, and threatening to fire essentially the entire White House communications staff over recent leaks, saying, "They'll all be fired by me. I fired one guy the other day. I have 3 to 4 people I'll fire tomorrow." The New Yorker's Ryan Lizza, who conducted the interview, telling CNN at the time,
White House was already deeply factionalized, and it was like putting Anthony Scaramucci in that job was like throwing a grenade into an ongoing civil war.
The new White House press secretary Sarah Sanders took over from Sean Spicer the same day Scaramucci was hired. Attorney General Jeff Sessions still hanging on, seated across from President Trump at a cabinet meeting this morning, despite being a target of the president's Twitter tirades. Sources inside the White House tell ABC News that Scaramucci asked to be moved to a position at the Export-Import Bank. Megan Hughes, ABC News, Washington.
Tensions remain high between the United States and North Korea. The United States flew 2 supersonic bombers over the Korean peninsula on Sunday in response to North Korea's missile test that took place last week. The U.S. also said a successful test of a missile defense system was conducted out of Alaska. President Trump spoke with the Prime Minister of Japan to address the latest launch by North Korea. The two leaders agreed that the threat by North Korea isn't to be taken lightly. They also agreed to increase economic and diplomatic pressure on North Korea and are urging other countries to follow suit. An Army medic from Michigan who risked his life in multiple times to rescue Vietnam War comrades is becoming the first person to receive the Medal of Honor from Donald Trump. James McCullough was 23 years old, a private first class drafted into the Army in 1969. The White House says McCullough voluntarily risked his life on 9 separate occasions to rescue wounded and disoriented comrades. He suffered wounds from shrapnel and small arms fire on 3 separate occasions, but refused medical evaluations to stay with his unit. McCullough is now 71 and lives in Michigan. The Medal of Honor is America's highest military honor. And that's all the time we have for this evening. I'm Alan Cohn. Thanks for joining us, and have a great night.